Last year, the pay gap between men and women increased by 7%. Now the average man earns roughly 10% more than a woman for an hour's work. Quite an amazing statistic. Someone, who said shame up there?
Quite right.
Hands up there. Someone says quite right here. Absolutely. What do you make? Why is this happening? Why is it not happening? Catherine Delahunty.
Well, it's been happening for ages. We've always had a terrible gender pay gap in this country because the government and the employers refuse to pay women the same as men or an equitable performance in jobs. Basically...
So why is that? What are the underlying reasons for that?
You
is
want
it
the big picture?
Yes, I do.
It's called patriarchy and sexism, and it still rules, and that's the problem. We still believe that women aren't as valuable, especially in caring industry, which is female-dominated jobs. They still believe that's not as important as being a banker, which rhymes with something else. So look, I'm actually...
Oh, Catherine, lower the tone.
I'm really concerned about the fact that we do not recognise women's work or women-dominated professions.
I want to throw that to Scott.
It's outrageous.
Outrageous, it's patriarchal and it's sexist. So what more can you do?
Well, lots more actually, and we need to do a lot more as a civilised society. And so I'm very pleased, for instance, to be part of a government that is actually making some real change. Because after
1972, the equal pay legislation was passed. What is it, 45 or so years? Why is it taking so long at Aotearoa?
They wouldn't even allow my bill through.
I'm not sure that it's... this is something that society has to to It's not
really?
just... I don't think you can actually... Look, we legislated...
Yes, you can.
We legislated back in the, 70s? Something like that.
You did it.
Legislated back in the 70s. And still we have a gap. So we still need to do more. So I think that we have to actually change society's thinking and the way that we perceive these things.
What is Scott going to do,
Are you surprised by
Nothing.
the difference? Are you surprised by the 10% gap?
Well, the gap is narrowing, not fast enough.
Well, not according to here, it's increasing.
Well,
what do you think, David?
Well, I don't accept that it's increasing.
Scott's demonstrably wrong. It's going in completely the opposite direction. I don't think it's quite as simple as what Catherine says.
Did I say it was simple?
No, I mean in terms of just a series of labels. I mean, my mother earlier this year was in a rest home, and she was being cared for by people who were on effectively the minimum wage. And I looked at her and thought, this is the person perhaps I most love in the world, almost. And, well, she's my mum. Of course I do. It's the most important person. And she's been looked after by these wonderful people. They were so amazingly caring, but they're being paid $14.50 at $14.50 an hour.
$14.72 an hour, all right.
I mean, rubbish money because women are seen to be in those roles, and those roles aren't seen to be important.
Before I go to Hayley, you've said it's a bit simple calling it patriarchal and sexist. But how do you change that?
Well, I do think it's about change. It's first of all about changing those roles and those jobs that women are most found in, like those caring jobs, and lifting that. Now, it took the service and food workers person to go to court to be able to lift that. Thank you.
Thank you.
to lift that, to take it to court, and they made a judgment which the government had to respond to, not voluntarily, but they were forced to respond to in order to be able to pay those people.
I think we should honour Christine Bartlett for a moment. Christine Bartlett led the case. Since 1972, women have been trying to get equal pay. This woman won the case. The fear is that the government will change the Equal Pay Act so that they don't have to pay equal pay because sometimes when you win in court, the government changes the rules afterwards. No, National did it to the carers.
Well, I'll come back to you, but I want to jump over to Hayley. She's got a guest.
Yes, I do. I'm here with Tamara Baddeley. You're a community-aged care worker. Surely not everybody's actually on the minimum wage, right?
Most of us start on minimum wage, and the highest pay rate I'm aware of in community care is just over $16 an hour.
So what? That's after 20 years in your career?
I've been doing it 14 years, and I'm on just over $16 an hour.
And what do you actually do? So what are you expected to do for that rate?
Okay, you start with making sure they're alive, helping them with breakfast, helping them shower, using special equipment if they're large or frail. You've got hospital beds, you've got hoists, you've got shower chairs. Sometimes you need two people just to turn them in bed because they're so frail or so large or they're just about to die.
So why can you not get paid more for that? Because that sounds like pretty important work. Why do you not get paid more?
Because the agencies and the rest homes can't afford to pay us more because they get what's left from the DHB funding that goes to the hospitals first, and that funding all comes from the government, and every year it's getting cut. And we're expected to do more and more.
And does it mean you don't get quality workers?
You can get quality workers. They're few and far between, and they're the ones that are there for 15, 20, 25, 30 years. You get the new nurses or those training, they'll come and they'll stay 6 months or 2 years, get enough experience and then go overseas.
Do you enjoy it?
I do enjoy it, and what I enjoy most is the people I get to meet and learning about them and what they've done and just everybody's life experiences.
Well, thank you very much for your insight. Back to you,
Hey,
Wallace.
a big round of applause for Tamara there. Fantastic. Doing really great work. Very good. And I want to go back to you, Hayley, very, very shortly to ask people's responses, because we have talked about this several times over the last 8 years. But, Scott, what do you hear when you hear Tamara? What do you hear?
I hear that we've still, as a nation, as a civilised society, we've still got a lot of work to do to change the attitudes of employers, of business, and of women as well, who are in need of...
Beg your pardon?
Well, what I'm trying to say is that the attitude...
It's our fault, everybody. You heard it first here.
I didn't mean that at all.
Thank you, Catherine.
What I'm trying to say is that we do need to change attitudes towards work and how we remunerate and how we reward and how we pay people. And we've got a lot of work to do.
All I hear is
collectively.
Words. All I hear is slogans there, Catherine. What do you hear when you hear Tamara speak?
Well, I also experienced my mother with dementia and the extraordinary care from low-paid workers. And they were very clear that their employer needed more money from the government or it would never flow through to their wages.
Have you ever been paid less, do you think, because you're a woman?
I've been in what I'd call jobs which are pay equity rather than equal pay issues. So, for example, when I was a rouseabout in the shearing gang and working a 12-hour day, we got a lot less than the shearers did per sheep, but we worked just as hard in a different way. So I do think that's the problem. It's the feminised work that actually is underpaid. It is government leadership that's required here, and they're not doing it.
I just want to jump over to Hayley to get some responses from the audience. What do they feel they've been paid less in some roles? What do they think about this this very, very important issue, Hayley?
Well, I probably won't ask if you feel like you're being paid less. Maybe your friend over here, do you feel like you maybe get paid less?
Well, actually, I'm job hunting at the moment, so I can't really, say, but probably, maybe.
The hard thing is you don't know. I mean, there's no transparency. I don't know how much my co-workers get paid. Would you like somebody to know how much your salary is?
In my previous job, our pay was given on tables, so we knew what everyone else was getting. In my current job, we sign a non-disclosure where we don't talk about our salary.
So in your previous job, then, did the women get paid just as much as the men?
According to their role and their rank, they got paid exactly the same as the men.
And what about now? Now that it's secret, do you get the feeling that they get paid just as much?
To be honest, it's none of my business what my co-workers get paid.
Okay.
All right, fair enough.
All right, very good. David Shearer, Labour. Some of the experts have said that senior female executives paid up to $8,000 per year less than male counterparts. So this is still in the senior positions as well. So what do you think is happening there? What can we do to erase this? I guess what Captain says is the patriarchy of this aspect.
Well, I do actually think there's an element of discrimination there. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And there's 14% of our boards in major businesses around New Zealand are women. Now, 14% is an incredibly small amount, and I just don't believe that there are not competent women that shouldn't be serving on those boards. So I do think there's a very big degree of discrimination, particularly in the business world.
Is there an element, just finally, Captain Delahunty, is there an element of when you go to an interview, part of actually pushing yourself forward as well, or demanding or negotiating harder? Some people have said that's an aspect as well.
That's a great way to avoid the real issue, to blame the woman, and that's what happens. We're told that we're not good enough at being pushy and advocating for ourselves. Honestly, that's bollocks. What happens is that women are often discriminated in the workplace at every level, not just the board level, but particularly for the care workers, who are the ones I'm concerned about, on the minimum wage. They're discriminated against because caring work is not valued.
Okay, very good. I'm very, very keen to hear your thoughts. Hey, very good. Thank you, Catherine. Keen to hear your thoughts on that at Backbenders TV. We'll be right back.